for the amazing response to yesterday's conversation on understanding the three fundamental things about MSME business. We started by discussing what are your basic requirements for creating a business plan, how you can use that plan to build a proper finance requirement and a cash flow part. And third, we explored how we can use technology for you to grow your business much faster and control it while you can operate it from any location. Today, we are going to focus on three different skills, and these are something very, very critical for you to be a successful, whether you are part of a startup or even if you are an established enterprise. You need three fundamental skills to be successful in your business, and these skills are mindfulness, clarity, and your ability to communicate effectively with all your stakeholders, including your internal and external stakeholders. So it's an absolute privilege for me to introduce three amazing individuals who are going to help you develop these skills over a period of time. First, let me start by introducing Anuradha. Anuradha is a mindfulness and wellness coach. She is a psychologist, and she has been involved in transforming many lives and getting that few of them back on track from where there was absolutely no hope, and also taking the lives who were struggling at one point in time to great heights. Anuradha, thank you so much for taking out time and joining us for this conversation. I would first like to understand what mindfulness is all about.
So, thank you so much for this opportunity, Charu, and it's lovely interacting with you guys. So, mindfulness in the fast-paced world of entrepreneurship, right? It is about where every decision has to be taken immediately, and at the moment, that is quite critical. And to cultivate this mindfulness becomes very essential. But before that, we need to understand what is mindfulness. So, at its core, if we see, it is the practice of being fully present and fully aware, engaged in the current moment without any judgment or distraction. So now, there are a lot of emotions, a lot of thoughts, and physical sensations that we experience, and embracing them and being present with acceptance is what is mindfulness. Now, how does this help an entrepreneur and a leader? Yes, it enhances decision making because it develops a clarity through the deeper understanding of the situation. And being fully present, entrepreneurs can make decisions based on more comprehensive perspective, okay, with the relevant factors in place. It also reduces stress because we understand the journey of entrepreneurs wherein they have to handle a lot of things and then be on their toes every time. And that does induces a lot of stress. Then if it is like good stress, that helps in productivity. But if it is bad stress, that is distress, then definitely mindfulness helps in coming out of it. It also helps in focus and concentration, right? To increase the productivity because our mind just keeps wandering. And then we can sit here in front of the screen and then think about something that is happening in Australia or the cricket match that is happening right now, the World Cup, right? But it helps us getting back to the work and then focus and then concentrate on whatever we are doing right now. And it also helps in active listening because if you have to take precise decisions, fast paced decisions, and also understand whether it is right or wrong, then active listening is what it enhances. It makes you listen to whatever is happening, understand whatever is happening, and take a decision. And also, last but not the least, it also helps in work-life balance because for entrepreneurs, we do understand that there is no night, there is no day, right? It's like 24/7, they're on their toes. Now, mindfulness definitely helps you in giving those pockets of time wherein you can focus on your life and what are the achievements that are there and increase your productivity and also increase your productivity to a level that professionally also you're having that satisfaction. So it's not all about stress, it's about enjoying the journey of entrepreneurship.
हमारे लिए ना MSME we always say that we are very normal people, right? And when we talk about things like mindfulness and all, we believe ये सब corporate वाली बातें हैं, right? ये हमारे लिए नहीं है. So क्या ये सही हमारे लिए भी है?
Because MSMEs का चीज ये है कि in short बहुत ही स्मॉल सेटअप में आपको सब चीज करना पड़ता है, राइट? एंड आई हैव मेनी फ्रेंड्स ऑफ माइन हु कीप टेलिंग हम लोग तो प्यून से लेके सीईओ तक के सारे काम हम ही लोग करते हैं, राइट? एट द सेम टाइम द वर्कफोर्स इज नॉट, द एनवायरमेंट कैन बी क्वाइट चैलेंजिंग, एंड देन जो ऑर्डर्स आते हैं जिनको हम लोग को फुलफिल करना होता है, जो रिक्वायरमेंट्स आती है, उन सब के लिए बीइंग ऑन टोस इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. So that is where first and foremost MSMEs के लिए stress management is something that they have to keep practicing. So अगर वो खुद जो ओनर है वो भी कर रहे हैं, and then they are also teaching effective tools to cope up with stress, right? That will help them in balancing their work environment. At the same time MSME employees के लिए multiple hats पहनना बहुत जरूरी हो जाता है. Juggling between various tasks, multitasking becomes a major thing throughout the day. एक चीज पे फोकस करते हैं, सो दूसरे डिपार्टमेंट की ओर देखना होता है, तीसरी ओर देखना पड़ता है. सो डेफिनेटली माइंडफुलनेस के थ्रू हम लोग अपने रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज को हैंडल करना समझते हैं, एंड देन हम लोग अलाउ भी कर सकते हैं एम्प्लॉयज को हैंडल करना रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज इफेक्टिवली. एट द सेम टाइम जो बहुत छोटी छोटी चीजें हैं, we can start focusing on that with great detail without wasting our time. And last but not the least, it is all about you having that emotional balance, right? जो हम लोग immediate responses देते हैं, जो reactions आ जाते हैं, हमको कभी गुस्सा आ जाता है, कभी बहुत डिप्रेस फील करते हैं, बहुत चैलेंजिंग सिचुएशन आए तो स्ट्रेस बहुत फील करने लगते हैं. इन सारी चीजों में it is all about emotional regulation. बिकॉज जब हम लोग जानते हैं कि रेगुलेट कर सकते हैं अपने इमोशंस को, देन जस्ट थिंक अबाउट अ वर्क एनवायरनमेंट जहाँ पे काफी पॉजिटिव एंड एनकरेजिंग हो जाता है लोगों को काम करने के लिए. एट द सेम टाइम द ओनर इज क्वाइट हैप्पी, राइट? एज एन एंटरप्रेन्योर यू आर वेरी हैप्पी बिकॉज थिंग्स आर जस्ट गोइंग एज यू वांटेड. एट द सेम टाइम the people along with you are enjoying that growth and journey as well.
Absolutely. At this point in time, I want to bring in somebody who talks about a lot of clarity. So Saumitra, don't have to go by his face. He looks pretty young, but that's all about the clarity that he gets. But he's a very experienced pro who is all about bringing the clarity to the businesses that he's operating in. So Saumitra, I would like to understand how it's important, why it's so important for the owner to have the clarity that he needs to make his business grow.
Right. So I would just change the sentence slightly, where I would say it's not just MSME owners, but practically any founder, any owner, any business, leadership that needs to have clarity. Because what we have seen a lot of times is, as founders, as owners, you want probably every business to be your client or every customer there, in India to be your client, which is a superb goal to have. But what happens is that you don't have clarity. The effort to results ratio is what gets highly impacted, is our experience, right? Because let us say I believe that my services are perfect for anybody who is between the age of 20 to 40. So all the efforts that I'm going to put in are going to be so widespread that I'm not going to have a focused understanding of who my actual client is, and my efforts are going to be also quite dispersed. So for MSME owners also, understanding who is my key partner. So let us say in my current setup, I want to increase my business, I want to have more partners onboarded, and you are not clear as to what your strengths are, and you go onboard a partner who doesn't align with you, even on a simple thing as business ethic, you're going to have a lot of friction coming up. So it is critical to understand what you want to do and how you want to do it with a very clear mindset, so that your efforts are channelized in the right direction in a very precise manner, so that the results that you get are very high yielding.
Absolutely. Now, when you look at the industry, and we do talk about the clarity quite often, but believe me, it's not as simple as how it looks or how we can clearly spell it. So, if you can elaborate that with a couple of examples, that would be awesome.
Sure. So, okay. So given that we are into consulting, I cannot specifically name the client, but let me give you this particular case study that we did. Right? So we have a client who's into manufacturing, and recently his problem statement or his goal was to go 10x. So today, if they are doing, let us say, 100 crore, he wants to do up to 1,000 crore in the next 7 to 8 years. It's a 7 8 year old setup. Now the issue was because he is into contract manufacturing, everything from shoes, manufacturing of shoes, to pharmaceuticals, to food and beverages, everything was under his purview. I mean, that was what he was looking at. When we did a research, when we spoke to some industry experts, and when we sat down with him and we started noting down the strengths that he has and the expectations that he has, we could come from this plethora of options to three particular segments in food and beverages and three clients in that. So from a potential 1,000 number of businesses to coming down to three businesses. Because now you have clarity on understanding, okay, my strengths lie in ABCD as a contract manufacturer. My supply chain is easy because I am in X geography of the country, and my business ethics are and my business principles are aligning with a new age company or new age owners. Suddenly it became very clear who you want to partner with and who you want to onboard, and then it became a piece of cake for him to reach out to the founders of these three clients, these three focus segments, talk to them and get them on board. So, so where he was struggling for the past 1.5 years to understand how do I reach out to the right person and who is the right person, and when you start understanding what your strengths are, what your focus is on, where can you expand with a very clear framework, it became a 3 month thing instead of a 1.5 year thing as to whom he is going to employ, right? As far as an MSME goes, another example if I have to give in a little new age startup is in under. So we had somebody who's doing IoT devices, and we realized that when we spoke to them and we did a industry research, we realized that their value proposition was going completely wrong. They were trying to sell the life extension of the client's electrical device, whereas their biggest impact was on the ESG sector, which is environmental, social, and governance. Now, suddenly, the value that you are creating for the client is going to make so much more sense because we by understanding what they are doing, what is the market requiring, and opening it in front of them, suddenly they were able to get into the top, maybe top 100 companies that are there in India because now they are talking the same language as their clients. So this is what clarity brings in. It effectively tells you where you have to channelize your efforts instead of going all over.
Sure. Now, bringing that particular clarity, now comes to the next level wherein now you need to give your own good work that you've done a voice. And this is the point in time when it's an absolute privilege to for me to introduce somebody who has been recently recognized as one of the top coaches in the world, who is currently authorized and let me also be very honest, formally recognized, because she has been doing it for multiple years, but she has now been formally recognized as somebody as who can help people become world-class speakers. It's a privilege to have Almas with us today. Almas, we at MSME, particularly as a sector, are people who are known to be very silent operators. So why it is important for us to find our voice?
Charu, when you get the buzz, you get the biz. Okay, I'm going to repeat that. When you get the buzz, you get the biz. Now, how do you get the buzz? You have to use the sharpest weapon that you have, which is your voice. Okay, and by voice, I don't mean language. I think बहुत सारे लोगों को ये लगता है कि मेरी अंग्रेजी अच्छी नहीं है. I'm not very good with my English, so I can't really communicate and I can't be a great entrepreneur. I think language is a medium of expression. And if you want to impress people, you're going to miserably fail. What you want to do is express yourself. Okay, so don't impress, express. And expression is a form of expression in the form of authenticity can really help you scale up. in whatever you're doing. Now, what's the number one difference between somebody who's got a great product, great value that they're offering, right? Somebody who has good resources, has a good competitive market share, and somebody else who probably has similar stuff, but one's doing really well and the other one's struggling. The number one reason could be their ability to network, to communicate, to effectively convey what they want to convey. Okay. Now, I'd like to share something very interesting here, especially when it comes to dealing with our customers, because MSMEs at the end of the day want to make money. So I want to make this very, very relevant for MSMEs because, like I said, the buzz and the biz, both are important. A confused mind will always say no, and a clear mind will say go. Okay. Now, when your customer is confused, they're not going to buy from you. But when they are clear in their mind in terms of what you want, they're definitely going to go ahead, right? And the clearer you are, the quicker you can get something. So clarity is so important in terms of whatever it is that you are trying to communicate. So a couple of things that I want to kind of share, and there's one myth that I want to bust, okay? A lot of MSMEs, a lot of entrepreneurs are so fascinated by their product. And all they do when they speak is talk about the product and the process and the resources. Sell the result, not the product. Okay, nobody cares about your product. Nobody cares about your processes. What people want to know is ultimately, how is it going to make my life simple? So put the result before the resources. Sell the result, not the product. Okay, so it's very important for MSMEs to do that. And I think all we have to do is make life simple. So there are 3 mantras for public speaking that I always share, and I would love to share on this forum. The first one is less is more. When you speak, whether you are speaking to an internal customer, whether you're on a forum or a stage, or you're trying to sell a product, less is more. Attention spans are limited. Today, I'm talking to you and some of you are mentally in Goa with an iced tea in your hand, right? You're probably not even here with me. Like Anuradha said, you're probably thinking about the match that's happening. So people are not really there sitting, waiting, okay, Almas is going to speak and I need to leave everything aside. No, I have to grab your attention. So less is more. Secondly, simple is powerful. You may be doing a phenomenal job with the technical product that you have. बहुत बढ़िया टेक्निकल प्रोडक्ट है आपका, मेरा उससे क्या लेना देना, मैं तो कस्टमर हूं. Simple is powerful. Make it easy for me. Touch my life with simple language. Okay. So for example, I don't even use words like anxiety, fear of speaking, anxiety. I ask people very, very simply, do you feel scared when you have to speak? It's easier to understand. Keep things simple for your customer. Okay. So simple. Less is more, simple is powerful. And the third thing that I want to share is, if you're ever making a presentation, please make sure you're prepared. Great presentations require great preparation. You cannot have a world-class presentation without world-class preparation. And when I talk about the presentation, Charu, what I want to highlight is that most of the people that I coach, they are obsessed with their slides. PPT बहुत amazing होना चाहिए, एकदम चकाचक होना चाहिए, and so much time, energy, money is put into making PPTs. And MSMEs, I hope you're listening to me very carefully. The PPT is not the presentation. You are the presentation. You represent your brand. You represent your business. So it's very important that we invest in delivering our communication, delivering our presentation, delivering our product really well. So there are 4 things that we could all start working on if we want to take our communication to the next level. The first is improving the quality of our voice, irrespective of whatever language we're using. I see a lot of people talking to themselves. They don't even open their mouth when they're talking, and you don't even know what they're talking. Open your mouth. You want to be clearer, right? So that's the first thing. The second thing I want to bring to notice is being sure that you have a very crisp and clear structure, so people know what you're talking about, okay? The third is everything that you're speaking is to an audience, whether it's a one-to-one conversation or to someone else. Keep your audience in mind when you're talking. And the last thing is your body language, your presence, how you carry yourself, sab matter karta hai. Sab matter karta hai. So stage is very, very important. And everything is a stage. Right now, you and I are on a stage. So whether you are speaking to an entry level intern in your organization or to an investor, you are on stage. How you speak matters.
ये सबसे डिफिकल्ट काम है अलमास। आप बोल रहे हो कि बेसिकली पावर पॉइंट ऑन दैट इज इजी, क्योंकि क्या वो किसी को बोल के दे दे, नहीं तो किसी की एजेंसी से बना लिया तो देन दैट वर्क्स आउट फार इजियर टू मेक। बट बीइंग देयर, स्टैंडिंग अप एंड प्रेजेंटिंग, दिस इज अ ह्यूज फियर फैक्टर।
Yeah.
So how can you help people overcome this?
I think Anuradha and I need to do a collaboration there to really help people. But one of the things that I always talk about in my coaching is the power of mindful speaking. Okay. Really getting centered and anchored in the moment. 75% of people have this fear of public speaking, first of all. Okay. The technical name for this is glossophobia. And it comes through generations of ostracism history. We don't have time to go into that. But it's a common fear. Let's understand that first. Okay. Fear is an emotion. And if you like, you can write this down. This is so beautiful. I heard it somewhere and I use it all the time. Fear is an emotion, and emotion is energy in motion, which means you have to find a way to transfer that energy, transform that energy, release that energy. And there are several ways to do that. Okay. There are several ways to do that. And one of the most important things you want to do is not add more thoughts to it. Arey, ab kya hoga, kaise hoga, kyun hoga, aisa hoga, vaisa hoga. And I think the problem today, Charu, is that everybody wants to impress an audience. And the moment you want to impress an audience, you're creating more fear of that judgment. So if you truly want to sell your product, you are in service, you will express yourself. And there are a lot of things that you can do, but one of the things to do is to really speak mindfully. How do you speak mindfully? Slow down. I see people wanting to rush. Arey, jaldi kya hai? You have a stage of 15 minutes. Use your time well. Cut out whatever is not needed. Less is more. 3 point bolo, अच्छे से बोल के निकलो. अपना fear अपने आप कम होगा.
Anuradha, Avishu, Almas, there is a particular part of the fear that we spoke about, right? So how people can overcome this? What is, from a personal perspective, from an individual fear perspective, from the experience perspective, how people can overcome this?
So first of all, it all starts with Charu, with the experiences that we had in life, right? So maybe just think about a 6-year-old child who must have just sung a song, or must have recited a poem in the class, and then all the friends have made fun of him. And the same kid tries to reattempt it when he was maybe 16 years old, and if he has the same experience, so already there is some negative energy which is transforming. And at the age of 16, because at the developmental stage that they're in at that point of time, everything matters. So self-esteem and everything. And that he trains to carry to a level wherein even if he's at the stage of a leader, wherein he has to address 150, 200, 500 people, the fear is still there. So how do you address it? It is first with the self-awareness of why am I feeling this fear, right? The first question is why. Second is what can I do, right? It is okay to ask for help. And the thing is, the more and more you practice, if you have to present something, you practice in front of a mirror, right? Prepare your presentation, because as Almas has said, it's not the PPT that you have made, it is how you're presenting yourself, with how much clarity do you have in your speech and in your thought as well. So once you start practicing it, automatically the fear is gone. And a very simple tip and technique that that I tell my clients is, take a glass of water just before presenting. Drink that glass of water and then tell yourself you have prepared well. Because whatever you have prepared, you are the one who know about it. None of the people who are sitting right in front of the screens know what I have prepared, right? So when I am the expert, the confidence automatically comes in. So it's all about determination, practice, and the delivery of how you want to do it, which is the best way that you can present yourself. That helps.
Absolutely. Saumitra, at this stage, how about the quality of the activity or the actions that you are doing make an impact?
I think a couple of things over there. One is something that Almas and Anuradha have already covered about having clarity in what you speak, right? The less is more point is so critical because you end up talking of peripheral things so much that you forget the main context and the main core that you want to talk about. Similarly, your clarity of, I mean, clarity in words or in actions is very, what it does is it shows the direction you are heading to. So if you are trying to do a lot of things without really understanding where is it that you want to go, it doesn't send out a good message, whether it is to your internal stakeholders or external, right? So today let us say I'm talking to my own team, and I'm not giving the right direction because it's not clear in my own head. They would be confused as what to do. If I have to tell my sales team that, you know what, I want to focus on domestic, I want to focus on international, I also want to focus particularly on Southeast Asia, things like that, then the sales team doesn't know what it wants to do exactly, and their efforts are also going to go all over the place. So when the whether it is an MSME owner or a entrepreneur, a young entrepreneur, having that clear idea of what they want reflects in what they say and what they do, the actionables that they keep up, and it gives a clear direction to the entire team. So that's, from a perspective of being a leader, it is so critical that you have clarity of thought that gets transcended to every other person in the organization. It brings about a clarity in the overall structure of things.
Great. Albus, this brings to the very important point. A lot of time when we talk about speaking, we always discuss about going external world and then presenting yourself as an organization or as an individual. But it's equally critical to keep your team motivated, and your ability to communicate the right things in the right way to your team make a huge difference. So how a leader can prepare for that internal communication?
Right. So like I said, everything is a stage, right? Whether you're speaking to an intern or to an external person. So there are a couple of problems. One, which Saumitra highlighted, which is clarity is missing. Now, sometimes, especially with startups, there's so many changes that happen. Life is changing every minute. And we're literally over bombarding our people with too many instructions. Okay. Now, nobody eats when they're full. So you don't want to give them too much information. You want to break it down. Break it down. That's so important. Okay. Now, what happens when we are communicating with people is you have other communication challenges. For example, you could have conflicts. You may have difficult conversations that you want to step up and have with people, right? You may have a need to negotiate with people. You may have to influence them. So this is what falls under the purview of communicating internally, right? So while we're talking about stage and presenting, these spheres are equally important. And I think it all boils down to one thing in my experience, which is building trust with people. And that trust does not happen overnight. It's like a plant, right? You have to water on a regular basis to be able to build that trust and relationship with people for communication to happen. And people don't talk about this, right? So most communication gurus will talk about techniques and skills. But in my opinion, things like mindfulness, things like trust, empathy, relationship, all of these are very, very important. So when you are building your internal team and your internal communication, you need to have those daily catch-ups, those daily conversations, build that trust, build that relationship, have empathy. And one thing that we may want to avoid when we're speaking internally to our people is a word that I would really recommend you throw out of the window right away. And that word is why. Why did this happen? Right? Especially when you're trying to decode a problem. Charudatta is smiling. But yeah, so the word why has a very negative connotation. It's almost like somebody's put you in the court of law asking you, kaise hua, kyun hua? What you may want to do is ask, words matter. So what you may want to do is, instead of asking why, say what happened. You'll still get an answer, but a better language can change the whole perspective. So please be careful with your words. And last thing I want to highlight, when you're speaking to internal stakeholders, you may want to look at your intention. If your intention is कि अभी तो ये meeting में जाके तो मुझे इसको को बजाना ही है, मतलब बहुत हो गया, I'm tired of giving feedback, this is it. If that is your intention, no matter how many techniques I give you, that conversation is going to be a lose-lose. But if my intention is, today I'm going to go into this conversation and collaborate, I'm going to understand, I'm going to build trust, I'm going to build relationship, the words will flow automatically. So trust, empathy, relationship building, and intentions are very important when you're speaking to an internal audience.
Anuradha, the companies currently are going through a lot of turbulence also in terms of different age groups being in the industry. So we have particularly in the small and mid-sized businesses, there are a lot of businesses which are in existence for a generation or two. So we already have one generation which is moving towards its retirement, the younger generation is taking over, and there are still at the operational or management level, there are some seniors who come from the old school. So this point in time, we always see a conflict between the younger generation which wants to take over and the older generation which is not willing to transfer the operational rights to the younger one. So how can both these particular teams be mindful about each other and have a better way of taking things forward?
So this is a very relevant question for MSMEs, VC Charu, because the older generation that you're talking about, they come with their experience. They had their own challenges. There is a certain way that they have worked, right? And then built to a certain level. Now, there is a sort of fear in them that how is this younger generation, because they know too much about their kids. Let me now talk about the parents and the children relationship that we have. So the parents know too much about their kids. So for everything, they come with a judgment, right? So maybe, during college time when he had to do this, he never had done this. So now anyway, he's going to mess up. So they come with an opinion, they come with a judgment. But definitely mindfulness helps even the older generation to understand that it is okay. Even they have, done a lot of mistakes, must have done a lot of mistakes. They must have rectified and then come to this stage. So why not give the baton to the younger generation and then have their own pride? Now, again, coming to the younger generation, the world is fast-paced. The younger generation would want to just scale up like anything. They just do not want to stop. They want everything to happen very fast. Now, again, mindfulness gives them a lot of understanding about what exactly, where do you want to go? What is the vision that we are having for ourselves, right? And then understanding and being empathetic towards their elders that, they had their challenges. For example, when we talk about the human evolution, right? Earlier, it was more like caves में रहते थे हम लोग, है ना, ancestors, and then wild animal जो भी आता था, the only response was fight. So generally, हमारा primitive mind जो है, it is used to this fight and flight response. So for both the generation, कि problem आता है, तो 90% of human beings would like to avoid it. So conflict is something that they would want to avoid, but because the situation is not such, they come for a fight. But mindfulness teaches them how to respond rather than reacting. Because if you're reacting, then the words that you choose are not right. And it definitely does not help in having a healthy relationship, a better collaboration, and understanding of both of the visions that they have. So active listening definitely helps, and mindfulness helps both the generations to understand, listen to each other, be empathetic, and have a common vision. Just to make it, the scale up that the younger generation would like to do, it definitely happens, but with the help of the elder generation as
well. Great. Saumitra, at this point in time, have you seen the two generations working together to bring in clarity within the business?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Have you seen both the generations working together to get clarity about where they want to take the business?
Eventually, yes. So I think I think the key factor has been, I think Anuradha is saying mindfulness. What we call it is objectivity. So I hope I'm right in stating that. So what we typically see is that if there is a conflict of I mean, there is a conflict or there is a difference of opinion. What is very important for either of the two sides to understand is looking at the problem statement from a very objective point of view. Because, you know, each is right, and I mean, there's no wrong over there. There are certain constraints that both the people are coming with. So, what really helps is having a very clear, objective mindset over here rather than getting the baggages and emotions over there. And when you have that, and when you question I mean, the right questions come up, you very easily see the mid part, because even the one side will understand how to scale from the younger generation's perspective and how it is aligned with your existing business, and the younger generation can also understand how to go a little steady. You don't go instead of going fast, you kind of go steady and slow, and therefore build the business from the foundation. So it's always objectivity that we see, whether it is two generations or whether even if it is two founders or even an investor and founder. You know, the objective mindset is what resolves the issue.
Almas, the question here is that how do you actually communicate to these seniors? Someone is very keen to understand this.
How do you communicate to?
The seniors in the organization, how a young entrepreneur getting into his family business communicates with the seniors.
Right. I think the first thing that we want to realize is that you're dealing with human beings. Okay. So whether it's a senior or a junior person, one of the things we need to keep in mind is that you still are talking to a human being. So that reduces a lot of fear when you're speaking to seniors. One thing that really helps and has always helped me and all my clients is make sure that you have your facts right and you get enough data with you. Okay. If you have data with you, then it's a lot easier to speak. The second thing is, if they ask you a question and you don't know the answer, it is better to be honest than to flaff and give some gibberish answer. That never works. I'm a big fan of authenticity. And if it's something that you don't know, say, that's a good question, and I actually don't have the answer to this. However, I would like to go back, do a deeper study, and come back to you with the right answers, right? So that's the second thing that I would recommend. The third thing is maybe ask them a few questions, because when you're dealing with seniors, they're always eager to give you insights, to give you knowledge. So listen more than you can speak. Ask them questions, get more insights from them rather than sharing too much upfront, right? Again, it's about building a relationship. How do you build a relationship with, let's say, an older aunt or uncle? You don't start giving gyan. You sit down, you take gyan from them, you understand more from them, you take their insights. So I think it's a similar story with seniors as well.
So for the younger generation, Anuradha, there is so many things that keep on happening around, right? So how do you practice the mindfulness?
So first of all, Charu, there are mindfulness is used as something which is trending, right? But that has been there in our culture because it is a technique which is totally based on only one thing, that is your breathing, right? Wherein you are aware of all your body, all the senses that you have, and then being present with yourself first. Because what happens when we talk about the new generation right now, because the technology and after post-corona, the scenario has totally changed. So now it is more about, how do we want to connect with people? And unfortunately, people would want to connect only through screens. So now when we talk about mindfulness, without gadgets, without technology, nothing can be there now. We have to accept it. At the same time, managing the time that we have with gadgets, at the same time, being aware of where exactly are we going wrong or right. That acknowledgement part is what the mindfulness brings in. So can we just do 2-minute mindfulness exercise to understand how to be aware of things? Because right from starting, I've been talking about being present, being aware, right? But how do we do it is what I would like to just you guys to experience for at least 2 minutes now. Okay, so just relax yourself. Relax your back. Straight both the foot on the floor. And both your hands on your thighs, hands, the palms facing the roof, and just close your eyes. Now, there are 5 parts that you need to focus on, that you need to relax, because whenever we keep thinking about a lot of things, our body becomes stiff. So first we need to relax our body and allow it to relax first. Relax your stomach muscles. Relax your chest. Relax your shoulders. Give a slight gap between both your jaws. Instantly, you will feel some relaxation in your cheeks and your chin, and then relax your forehead. So just inhale very slowly and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Just observe the sensation that you are getting in the body. How is your body feeling right now? Is it heavy? Is it light? How is your mind right now? Is your mind wandering too much? Bring it back to the breathing. Focus on your breathing. How does your skin feel? What is the sensation that you're having under your feet and on your palms? What is the taste that you're having in your mouth right now? What are the sounds that are there around you? Focus on your breathing. Just relax. Find that calmness inside yourself. You will have a lot of thoughts. Allow them to pass just like a PowerPoint presentation. Do not be judgmental about any of the thoughts, any images that are coming in your mind right now. Allow them to pass. Let go of them. Focus on your toes. How does your feet feel? How are your calf muscles feeling right now? How are your knees, thighs, your hip, lower back, all the back, your stomach, your chest, shoulder, hands, fingers, eyes, ears, nose, your lips, and your hair. Just being fully aware of your body, being fully aware of the situation around you, accepting yourself without any judgment, and being 100% present right now. Now slowly you can open your eyes. How did it feel?
Thanks.
So that is what happens. See, in our daily life, we run too much, right? And our mind is not already, we always get into overthinking. And our body doesn't support us to feel okay from inside. So first you need to relax your mind along with that, because your physical body and your mental health, your mind, both of them are related to each other. So this 2 minutes of exercise also gives both your physical and your mind, physical body and your mind, time to relax and getting back to the work that we are doing right now. Because as human mind, we either are worried about what has happened in the past, or, as an entrepreneur, you're always thinking about what is to be done next. So
Always.
present.
We are everywhere except the present.
Yes.
So this brings the next question here for you, Saumitra. So at what point in time you need to look for clarity in your business? If you're already an established business, do you still seek a clarity, or that is something that you need to engage only at the start?
No, I mean, I don't think you can run a business successfully if you don't have clarity at all points in time, because it's so basic. So something like process optimization. If you don't have clarity and you're like okay, whatever is going on, and you're not really looking at the business with a clear mindset, you might miss out the opportunity to optimize your processes, which can give you a 15-20% reduction in cost, or things like I think this is a little more on the lines of mindfulness also. I think that things like processes not being followed. Now, if you don't have the clarity of what processes are supposed to be followed in your setup, you will not know where they are going amiss. So we've seen people where there are five touch points where a data has to be entered, and after the second point there is no data entry, and then you don't even know why the sales is happening, where did the inventory come from, because you're not clear enough to understand that the process has to be followed. It's a set thing and you are kind of ignoring it. So at no point in time you can work with with murky waters in your mind. You have to have that clarity, and I mean that continues. So even at a point where you want to expand your business, you want to look at maybe doing something, not a straight expansion, maybe vertical or a horizontal or a backward integration, whichever way you look at it. If you have not had clarity of thoughts throughout the business running, you are always going to miss a critical data point over there. So I think it's very easy from a third, saying this is quite easy when you're doing the business. This happens to us also, that we forget having an objective mindset when you're doing your own business. But it's critical to keep having clarity of thought. Sit with the team and try to do that. That's an exercise we follow for ourselves. That when we feel that we are going off track, we sit together and we start looking at things from an objective mindset, and we realize that, oh God, we have completely gone in a direction which was already decided not to go in. It's that simple. So yeah.
Saumitra, why do you feel that this is so obvious and it shows the clarity? But believe me, this is a great fan of status quo. Right? जो चल रहा है चलने दो. But people
Yeah.
really want to change क्या हो रहा है.
Yeah, I was actually thinking of uh, this quote, and I was kind of I was arguing with myself on that. I was doing the pro and con, which says, "Don't mend something that is not broken," and I kept arguing that why can't it be made better? I mean, if you are going to let things be as it is, you will not even get to know that it's about to get broken. So yes, there is a process. It is working for you. Maybe it worked 5 years ago. Maybe today there are new processes in place. Maybe there are new mechanisms in place that will help you shorten and make your process more transparent and more effective. So you can improve the process if not mend it, right? So yeah, it's easy to say you have to have clarity, but I think you need to do an exercise where you kind of look at things and bring that clarity for everybody in the organization.
Absolutely, Saumitra, I appreciate this bit. Almas, this point in time, the question that I'm getting right now is that how does one, first of all, start the fundamental journey of getting into speaking? Because people feel that हम लोग manage कर लेते हैं. So reaching out or seeking help itself is a challenge.
Right, right, right. So the first question you need to ask when you are addressing an audience, before you start getting into speaking, addressing an audience, is you want to ask yourself this question: what is it that you would like your audience to feel, think, and do differently as a result of your communication? It's a very powerful question. And every time I'm coaching someone to speak, to make a presentation, to get a talk ready, this is the one thing that you want to keep in mind. Let's say you have a meeting with an investor. What is it that I would like the investor to think, feel, and do differently as a result of my communication with this person? The second thing to keep in mind is to always remember what's loose is lost. So what you want is have something called a big promise very clear in your head. What is that big promise or big objective or whatever is it that you're trying to speak? Have that very clear in your mind, and that should not be more than one line. You need to be very, very clear. So whatever Saumitra said, clarity is so powerful, right? If you're clear, so the first step for people who want to start speaking is to first be clear in their mind in terms of what they want to say. Okay, so speaking is divided into two things broadly: what and how. The what is really being very, very sure of, very clearly being sure of what is it that I want to say. What's my one big promise? What is the roadmap that I'm going to use to speak to my audience? Okay. And then when you have the how, it all starts with mindfulness. I'm a big fan of mindfulness, and I would always talk about really starting from there and then speaking slowly and speaking in short sentences. You know, one of the things that I've noticed, Charu, especially in the Indian context, because I deal with a lot of people globally, and it happens to all of us, we tend to combine too many sentences and make that sound like one sentence. So I wake up in the morning and I went to the fridge and I realized there were no breads and egg and I wanted to have breakfast. So I went down, got some bread and eggs for myself, and I came up and I tried to book an Uber and there was no Uber available. And then after 30 minutes, the Uber was available. And then by the time I reached my office, I was late. ये एक sentence है. ना आपको समझ आ रहा है ना audience को आ रहा है. Speak in shorter sentences. So speaking is really about breaking things down. You want to start a journey? Focus on the what and how. What? Focus on what is it that you want to communicate very clearly, and how? Speak slowly, speak in shorter sentences, break down what you're going to say, and practice. There is an app called Udly, which I recommend to my clients. It's an AI app, Yoodly. It's very good in terms of practicing your speech. It will give you a lot of insights in terms of how you could have changed your language, how many fillers, foregons you're using, what is your rate of speech. So that would be a good place to start from. Read a lot. Out loud reading is very good, Charu. And this is something that all my clients do. Out loud reading. Presenting in front of a mirror. And lastly, while I wrap up, I want to share this. The biggest myth is that I need to be good to go on stage. My friends, you need to go on stage to be good. Okay? So that's where you start. Show up. Don't hide. Open up and show up.
Absolutely. So on this amazing note of showing up and being counted is when we wrap this essential skills conversation today. I look forward to having all three of you back in building further on the discussions that we had today. Thank you so much for your time today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.